What's up, guys? Today I wanted to do kind of a recap and talk about some stuff that's been going on. This morning I actually had a really good conversation with Alex, and I kind of wanted to recap that as well. And I'll do that first, and then I'll kind of get into LIZI, because I think it's a good example of what we're talking about. So I called Alex. I spoke to him last week. I said, hey, next week I want to talk to you about my personal trading, and I think I need a little bit of help. And basically what I wanted to ask him was, I've felt now for some time, as you guys know, I'm someone who takes the process very seriously. I'm someone that has never been in a rush to make money trading. I've just done it very slow and methodically, and this has been a nice full year of consistency and good money. And I averaged in that whole $500 to $1,000 a day, and I have the bigger days and I have smaller days, but it's always, just consistent, and I really don't have many red days. So I asked him, I said, hey, man, I really need help kind of getting to the next level, right? I want to take my trading to the next level. I've proven consistency to me, I think, the right way. So what can I do now, right? I want to add size, but I want to do it responsibly. I've tried using size before, and it doesn't bother me. I'm someone who doesn't care about being in bigger size. It's just I knew that if I just continued to try to bully in size, I was just going to lose a bunch of money. So I just wanted to build a bankroll, get to a comfortable spot financially, and then start sizing up. So what did we talk about? So a big thing that we talked about is in this market is identifying the setups to use size on, right? Which is the broken stocks, that give you the levels pre-market. I think people misidentify broken stocks. To me, a broken stock, all that means is that it is under pre-market highs. That's what a broken stock to me means. That it broke down kind of under the pre-market, broke down, and it gives us levels to short, right? People always think that it had to be broken, it has to stay under VWAP. That's not, to me, that's not really broken. To me, what's broken is a stock that went up, came all the way up, tanked all the way down, and now gives us key levels to short off of, right? Resistances. So we talked about how sizing up on these opportunities are the best because they are technically the safest, because we know exactly where we can size and where we can risk off of. Whereas the day ones that are more MDLY, which ended up being ridiculous. Sorry, 1 second. MDLY ended up being ridiculous with the halts and stuff, but reality is, if you look at it, look at this thing. It was just constant, just all the way up, right? At the open, spiking, stuff like that. Those are the day ones that are pretty crazy. Whereas this, gave us the levels right going into the open, and we knew exactly the levels to short. So taking those opportunities and sizing into them. Now, doing that responsibly. We talked about utilizing the whole and half dollar numbers, because in this market, those have been playing a major role, and we'll kind of actually get into that as well on this trade. And then, just kind of giving yourself the confidence that, when you're right to trade it, don't go into it scared. When you get the signal, a big signal that Alex was kind of talking about was the death candle. When you get that death candle or that big rejection, that's kind of the go time to get in, and to get in, and odds are most of the time when you get that death candle and that signal that the stock's not going to bounce back. So let's kind of talk about how we can incorporate what me and Alex have talked about into this. So coming into today, we had this stock right here. I had broker issues. I've been having issues actually with DOS a little bit that I just kind of got resolved, I guess, today with them. There's a problem with the network, and my level 2 was backwards. So it's just one of those things that's untradeable. I can't do anything about it. So so basically what I did here was I just wanted to watch price action and learn. So how did this work? So this to me was a great opportunity to size in, because it was a chart that gave us every level to watch with an ultimate stop over that high a day, and there was plenty of range. So to me, that's an A+ opportunity. So basically, going into the open, I never like, just for advice, I don't like to use the high of day as a scale level. I just never do, because that's usually my stop. So I'm going to put a line here this is usually my stop out level. Okay. So we had this whole move up to here, lower high, right? We knew that the 440, 450 level was going to be crucial. Why? Because it's the $half mark. If we got over that, we said in chat, we're probably going to test the highs, right? So what do? We had this. Now, here's where people have been getting into trouble with the broken stocks, and this is where I want to kind of go over with you guys. We also identified that there was a key support level at 385 from this, right? This move right here. That's the support, and it kind of held in here and whatever. Now remember, a support level and a level to break, 10 cents to me is not enough, because there's slippage to these things, right? Like when you see a level break, I want to see it break on really high volume relative to what the stock is trading to confirm it. On the breakout or breakdown, doesn't matter. So at the open, so one thing I want to explain, actually, this is what I was talking to Alex about, actually, just like an hour ago, I messaged him. What people are getting screwed up on is everyone's waiting for that bounce to VWAP, right? The problem is our levels to short on this were, what would we say? We said VWAP, like 420, right? Which was this kind of level right here from pre-market, right in there, and 440, okay? Now, I'm just gonna get rid of all this so it's not confusing. So we had our support and we had our resistances, right? So my opinion on this right now, in this market and just going forward, these stocks are squeezing people out early, so you cannot rush size in. I almost feel you cannot use size. My new rule is I cannot use more than 30% size unless we kind of break above VWAP and reject a line. If we reject a line, I'm okay adding up to 50%, and I'll stay 50% until we're kind of breaking down according to plans, right? Because we said when it broke above here, we said, look, this thing's kind of holding 390s. When it breaks below that, there's all this room down to 370s and below, then you can add size. But until then, stay relatively small compared to your max size. So my opinion is this, and this is just how I'm going to start trading things. These are kind of broken stocks, is I'm going to set fantasy orders. I'm always going to I'm going to break it up like usual, 30%, 10%, 10%, 10%. But I'm going to just stick to that. And the reason is because, let's say at the open, VWAP was around here, right? It was 407. So my fantasy order, the way I do it, would have been on the 5 or the 6. So it would have been like 405, 406. Let's say I'm trading 3,000 shares, and let's make it just mathematically, because I don't want to confuse everyone. Let's say I'm trading 4,000 shares. So that means on the front side of the move, I can trade 1,000 shares, right? I basically would just break up my bullets, right? I would just do 300 whatever here, 300 here, 300 here, whatever. I'd probably do 300, 400 at the top, just to bring up the average a bit. But I'm going to basically just stick to that, and I'm going to stick to that until the stock gives me a clear reason to add more size. And the only reason I'm doing that is because what happens is a lot of these broken stocks is you short that push to VWAP and you push size, and then it tanks a little bit and then squeezes and then it kind of bobbles around and breaks down like this one. So, for example, if this thing had pushed, you would got your fantasy order at 410, whatever it was at, right? And you would have made a quick 20, 30 cents. Even on a starter, 300 shares, you make $90, $100, whatever. And that's just enough for you to now say, okay, was that a rejection? So you put your orders back at VWAP. And again, this to me, the problem was it never warranted using full size on this VWAP touch, because it held support pretty tight and then bounced immediately back. It just wasn't natural, right? It rejected, it stuffed. After this stuff right here, that was your signal that if this level doesn't break down, it's not ready to add big size on the pushback to VWAP. If this had stuffed and then kind of broke down and then bounced, I would be using full size on this VWAP test with a risk right above, maybe even at this 420. So a 10-cent risk with max size. But the reality is it stuffed, not really on elevated volume, but it did reject. But once we held here, in my head, I'm like, I know it. That was not it. That's not warranting full size. So what I would have done is same thing. Throw that order back out here. Throw your 10%. And look what would have happened, right? You would have gotten your push to here, like 410. You would have got your 420 and your 440. You would have had somewhere in the 420s average with this risk, right? Now as a trader, what I would have seen is we pushed up here. So at this point, you're in your 30% size. Now we have new resistances because we kind of topped out here as put a lower high. And as a trader, I think this is kind of what Alex did today, and this is at least what I was seeing, is when we got this stuff move right here, we had this elevated volume push into a resistance and quick wick. That to me was kind of like the like a mini death candle. So to be honest, I would have looked to start adding some size, but we had recognized that this thing is not an automatic short until it breaks below like that 390s, right? This real support that's been holding. So maybe you could have added some more size on this little area here, but no matter what, you're not in full size because it's not a confirmed breakdown. You are setting your hard stop for this break of this resistance, right? I know they used 450, Alex and Tosh, and that was a good stop, right? Now, how do you react? So that's the thing, is you might have all your lines drawn, right? Like we had our lines drawn from pre-market at these, but they might not all hit, right? But the fact is the trade had set up to work at this resistance level. Why it didn't was a chat room got involved and it pushed it. They stopped out and did what you're supposed to do, especially on these stocks that recover. You take a 30-second walk and you come back to the screen. Now, what happened? If you had kept your lines and drew them, you had a 470 level, you had a big extension, right? And usually on these big extensions, when it slows down, right, the bouncing ball, it's going to go up, it's going to come down. So, what do we get? Zoom in. We got a big extension into 470 on high volume, immediate pullback, bounce, lower high, which is where Alex got in on this lower high. Again, you really can't, I wouldn't say use big size. I'm still saying you're on the outer line, still stick to 30%. And if you had stuck to at least 30 to 40, 50% in here, the loss was small. On this, you could short here. And again, what did we say all morning? If it breaks below VWAP, you can size in a little bit more. And then if it breaks below this 390, you can size in all the way. So what happened? I mean, it's not magic. It rejected, broke below VWAP, pushed, failed VWAP, which was your signal you could add. And then on the breakdown of this support, we went all the way down to 330. It's like $1.50, in gains. And it went lower, all the way to 3. So, of course, not saying you'd hold and hope all day, but, so the reality is, I want to recap that I believe you should be staying 30% size no matter what until the stock says, dude, it's go time. Even on these stocks, remember, broken to me is not just under VWAP. Broken to me means the chart was formed and gives us levels to short off of, not like a chart like MDL and MDLY, which was just like boom, 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 going up, going up, going up, and hadn't given us that level. This had given us multiple levels to short. So what I recommend to people struggling with these broken stocks is just stay 30%, set fantasy orders. Again, if this right here, this is what I'm trying to say. And this is what I've noticed Alex does. I spend a lot of time back testing his charts. And I think that it's very beneficial to a lot of guys as well. So we had this 380s support. And again, at the open, I guess the true support was like, let's just call it 380. Because it's right around there. If at the open, when we rejected VWAP here, if we had rejected and slammed through, I would have said, okay, on this bounce back, because it would have given that bigger range, this would have been a bigger bounce to get all the way back. This was only a 20-cent bounce to get back to 4. Whereas if it broke down to like 360, 350, that's a 50-cent bounce. That's a big bounce for it to get up through here. So remember what Tosh says, if it's close to VWAP, wait for the outers. I think that's probably the best thing he's ever said in this room, is that if it's close to VWAP, wait for the outers until proven otherwise. And if this had broke down, I would have shorted here. But because it didn't, and again, it just kind of kept wicking. You could see it. It just didn't want to break down. That's your signal. Still need to be 30%. And at 30% size, you can scale in, you can add on lower highs, wait for that breakdown of that confirmation level, the 390s to add, and stay small enough that when you stopped out, it wasn't a big deal, and that kept you in the right mindset for the bigger picture move in trade. Not every trade you're going to be right, and again, you have to keep things in perspective. So if you have 2,000 shares, and even if you only get on, 500 shares and only get a couple scalps in because the trade doesn't warrant it, that's fine. Scalp 500 shares 10 times, make good money. I mean, that's the reality, is you can do that over and over again. But my new thing to increase, because I want to really size up now going forward for October, is I'm going to save my size for I need that confirmed move. I need that major rejection of a level, death candle, breakdown of major support, etc. So something I'm going to incorporate. Always want to keep you guys up to date. And if you have any questions, reach out. Later.